You know, I think in our industry right now in law enforcement, we tend to hide behind the words, I'm good. But there's a lot going on behind the scenes, I would say, from the human standpoint. You know, we've had multiple officer involved shootings in the North area over the past week. And we've even had the fatality with Deputy Adam Gibson. And those same officers who were part of an officer involved shooting late last week responded to the same one where Deputy Adam Gibson was killed in the line of duty. And seeing them come back to the station and seeing it weighing heavily on their part is tough, right? And as the commander for North Division, to watch your personnel come in and not be able to do anything for them because they're just hurting inside. But knowing the very next day they have to go back out. And you know, recently we had another team that came on, had heard about all the events over the weekend, and then came on and then was involved themselves in officer involved shooting. And it's just been walking through the division, it's just you see it heavy in their eyes, heavy in their hearts. And, you know, these officers have to go home and live their life. And they experience the incidents of officer involved shootings, the death of their partner, someone who they respected highly. And they go sit at the dinner table and the family go, hey, how was your day? And to try and describe that to the family is hard. And so a lot of the times officers will keep that in and just say, I'm good, I don't want to talk about my day, let's talk about your day. And trying to get that support from the family as well. It's been tough, but here's what I will say. What I love about this profession is when a call for help goes out, it doesn't matter what agency you're from, everybody shows up. And the amount of support that I've had from other departmental leaders who have reached out internally, the leadership here in the Sheriff's Office reached out and checked in on me. Because as a leader of North Division, you know, you want to take care of your people, walking around and making sure they're okay. And so it's nice when someone checks in, but the emotions kick in also, because we are humans at the end of the day. And I think with what we do and the service we provide, we're proud of our community, we're proud to serve it. And they go out there day and day. And, you know, this morning the teams went out and, you know, you listen to the radio while you sit in the office and all these major events are happening. And the resiliency and the bravery that the women and men in this office in the North Division, but the Sheriff's Department, law enforcement in general, show is just makes me proud. And I'm proud of everybody here. I know we'll get through it, but it's some tough times.
And just real quick, not to interrupt our interview, but I'm wondering, are you able to, I have a little bit of low audio levels coming in from you. I'm wondering, are you as close as you can be to your screen and to the camera? I wonder if it's like.
Get closer, it's not gonna. Does it sound a little better?
That actually does sound a lot better. I wonder if it's just the distance away from the camera. Okay, but that is helpful. Awesome. And I wanted to recap one of the things that you had said in the beginning of that. We had some of the same officers responding to like the first officer involved shooting, that they responded again to Monday night's incident. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And so we're talking about the incident in Carmichael on Friday night and then the Monday night incident at Cal Expo.
Yes, a lot of the same personnel showed up to both. And it's emotional because, you know, our officers will kiss their loved ones goodbye and say, I'll see you tomorrow. And they see this. And I will tell you, with technology that happens today, is when a major incident like Friday night happened, right? The breaking news story happens and everybody gets alerts on their phones and it says officer injured or officer shot. And then it becomes a race for every officer in law enforcement, even in this region, to send a message to their loved one, I'm okay, I'll call you later. And it's really tough. And, you know, to be able to have people reach out to me, who is it? They want to know, because we all have relationships within the agency that we've worked with people side by side, you know, their families. And they would just want to know who it is and how they can help. And, you know, I know who it is, but I don't want to release that because I don't want that information out there before family members. And that's a tough spot to be in. But I will tell you, when I see the officers come in at the end of their shift, knowing they're going home, we just ask them to, you know, take time, hug your loved ones a little bit tighter. But the best part is they always show up the next time for work. And even after 22 years, I'm amazed by that. And that to me is inspiring. And if I were just a member of the community and not in this profession, I would feel proud, but also comforted to know that if I were in stress or need or a crisis, that phone call comes, it's going to get answered. And that for me is what I love about this profession, is it truly is a calling. Because you think about what is happening, and when we raise our right hand and swear to an oath, we know the dangers that come with it. And to be able to fulfill that and continue to come back time and time again. And I will tell you, when I first started, this wasn't happening in our region. And now 22 years later, we're hearing about it each year, and it's impacting us very close to home. And for officers to still show up and be resilient and provide a high level service, it just makes me proud to be part of the sheriff's office, but also to be proud as a commander for the North Division.
And when you say that, 22 years ago when you signed on, this wasn't happening every day, do you mean officer involved shootings or just the loss of a deputy?
Both officer involved shootings. I mean, it did happen, but it wasn't, it seemed to be as frequent. And I say not just with the sheriff's office, but regionally. I think a lot of it now based off technology, we're hearing more and more about it nationwide, but we're here to help people, and we're in the business of helping human beings. And when they call for help, that's what we do. And when those calls come for help and we have officers showing up and then immediately being shot at, it can really make people second think of this profession. And so when I talk to the officers and my teams, it's great to see that they say, I'll see you tomorrow. I will be there. And to be able to answer that call is, it's inspiring. And there's no other word that I can add to it, but it's nice to see them show up. They look at each other, and there's that confidence that we'll be there for one another if something bad would happen.
And so were you responsible for overseeing all three of these officer involved shootings, Friday night, Monday night, and also Tuesday night as well?
No, just by my position, it happens in my area. There's amazing and brilliant people who work around me and for me, and they do a lot of the work in coordination, and I'm there as a resource for them of experience if they need advice. But by the time I usually get there, they've already done all the amazing work to make it happen. I just help try and support everybody. The teams that we have and the leadership we have at all different levels, I couldn't be more proud of them.
After what happened on Friday night in Carmichael, I know that was the first of these three in just 5 days. After that incident, do you believe your deputies were feeling maybe just a little on edge or on higher alert after such a serious thing had happened? Or how do you think that they were feeling after that Friday night, and maybe how could that impact other incidents?
That's a great question. I will tell you that it always weighs heavy in officers' minds, not just in our agency, but others, because we know that every time we walk out that door, that is a possibility. And then when it happens, that is the reality. And in our mindset, we try to take that mindset, that's not going to happen to us. And then when it does happen to someone close to us, it does bring the reality of what the profession has, right? The dangers. But as far as a heightened, I don't say it puts them on edge anymore, but I will tell you that it just becomes more of a reality. And what they really have to balance again is the loved ones at home, right? When it's a reality for us, we become, we have a mission. We promised our community we'll be there for them. We're going to show up and be there. And then the loved ones are worried, when is the next one? And then in this past week, we've had so many recent events that it's really impacted law enforcement, because my partners in other agencies that have called have you can tell it's really impacted them as well. And where we sit in our positions, you just never want to be in that spot where you get that phone call late at night and one of the person is hurt. And you feel helpless, but you can't do anything. And all you can do is really get there and show support.
Tell me a little bit about Deputy Gibson and how you knew him.
Yeah. Adam, I worked with Adam when I was the commander for South Patrol. He was day shift, very stoic. I wouldn't say he didn't have many friends, but if he allowed you in his inner circle, that it was something special. But he was very, as I call it, just doing my job. And if you remember March of 2018, that heroic event he did, I was amazed because even with the job knowledge that I have and experience, when we heard of the gentleman that was in crisis hanging off of the overpass, he had made the decision, I want to get help. So he goes to go back over the fence. Well, thankfully, Adam had saw the tour bus and had them pull up. And I remember thinking, I don't even know if I would have thought that. But I thought it was such a great moment where he was able to help him because, as you remember, he was trying to climb over the fence and he lost his grip and fell. And if that bus had not been there and Adam had not had the driver position, it could have been a different outcome. And I remember afterwards, we were getting a lot of media inquiries and they were calling me, do you think he'll do an interview? I said, no, he won't, because that's who he is. But I had a long talk with him and he kept begging me, please don't make me do it. And I said, I'm never going to make you do it, but I think it would be cool that your family gets to see you describe what your thought process was and how you really saved someone's life. And that story needs to be told. It doesn't need to be told by me. It needs to be told by you. He agreed to do it. He did a phenomenal job, but where I sit, it was great because I got to see how uncomfortable it made him. But he had a great time afterwards. And it was neat to hear him tell me his family really enjoyed that. The media that was covered on it. It was fun.
What else do you want the community to know about Adam? For those of us who weren't fortunate enough to meet him, what do you think they should know about him?
Well, as a commander, it's funny, they don't allow me into their personal worlds because, I'm the boss. When I show up, it's, hey, how are you doing? But I think he was the one that no matter what was happening, if it was helping a kid who was crying on the side of the road, he stopped and he had a big heart. And it was neat. I didn't work side by side with him, but I will tell you everything I've heard about him, even when I worked with him and when he became a canine officer, that was his dream job. And knowing that he fulfilled his dream to become a canine officer. And a lot of those, you go to schools, you do different events where they get to see the kids, or the kids get to see the dogs, and the interaction is fun. So to see he fulfilled his goal of getting his dream job, I think it's inspiring. But I will tell you, here's a gentleman who was in the Marine Corps. He served 2 tours in Afghanistan. He came home still with the calling to serve and got into law enforcement and did a great job. Had a great reputation. But it's funny, I did not get to learn a lot about him because it's, again, when the commander shows up, it's usually quiet. And I think that was probably the military in him, that you don't ask questions and just do your job. He's very mission driven, but couldn't be more proud of him and everything he did. And just, it breaks our heart for his wife, Rachel, and baby, and to see what they have to go through right now. It's tough, but I think the community should be proud because he did provide a high level of service. But I will tell you this, if the community is watching and listening to me right now, we will always be there for them. And even in times of crisis, and even if we seem overwhelmed with the pandemic and civil unrest and distance learning, because our officers have to deal with that as well. They go home and their moms and dads, and they have to deal with that. And then now come in and watch their partner be killed on the line of duty right in front of them. It is heavy on their hearts, but I'm confident we'll get through it. I say we're growing through it. Like I said, we're going through this, but we're going to grow through this. And the community can rest safe, that if that call comes in, that's what we do. But I'm really proud of Adam, his career. There's no words that can describe the loss and what that does. But the profession will be here to wrap their arms around the family and let them know they'll never be forgotten. They'll always be part of it.
And I know that we touched on this in the very beginning, but can you we've had 3 officer involved shootings in 5 days. We lost Adam. We had 2 other deputies injured that I believe are still in the hospital. And then we also lost K9 Riley too. Can you speak on just how the department in general is doing, and how, what is the overall mood right now in terms of emotions and how the deputies are doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think if anything, it's just sad, because we are human beings who provide this service, and to look in each other's eyes and just see the hurt is it's tough, right? And but what I'm what I get fulfilled with is the support that happens. And it's, for as many people who are hurt by this, there's so many people reaching out internally and lifting each other up. And that is what it is, right? In times of crisis, when everybody comes together, you're going to get through it. And a lot of people are honestly saying, how much more can we take? And but the reality is it's the resiliency and the resolve and the call to serve that brings everybody back up. And again, when I watch people leave for the day, and I always tell them hug your loved ones a little tighter, and watch them show up the next day, and just that look of confidence in each other's eyes that we're here to support each other and we're going to get through this. It is, again, it's inspiring. And I walk away emotional sometimes just looking at being proud of them going out, but also the fear of my phone ringing again and somebody gets hurt and having to go out and talk to officers and trying to lift their spirits as well. But what they do internally when they get together is a tight-knit group, and I'm really proud of them for what they've done. They're going through it and their families are going through it. And we're here to support them along the way, and we'll do whatever it takes to comfort them during these difficult times.
And you talk about, you never want to get that phone call, that any of your deputies were hurt or worse. Was that a phone call that you had to take on Monday night, or were you already out there?
No, I was at home, and I think I was asleep for about 30 minutes, and the phone rang, and it's we have one down. And we know what that means. And then it's, do we know who? And because of the radio traffic and everything that's coming out, nobody knows. And it's just, and I'm notifying, my upper management of, hey, this is what we have going on. And then it becomes an information piece as far as who is it, where do we go, what resources do we need to provide. And again, I think the amazing work and the brilliant people in this organization that knows what to do in times of crisis. And again, by the time I showed up, everything was where it needed to be. And it just, the professionalism in chaotic situations is amazing to me. And to be able to respond and give that support is great. But that phone call is something nobody wants to get. But I will tell you, the phone call to the family or the message to the family is the hardest thing to ever do.
Absolutely. I had a conversation yesterday with former Sheriff John McGinnis about this, just kind of getting his perspective on sort of this increase in violence. It feels like there's an increase in violence against our officers, with people shooting their weapons at your team. Do you feel that there is an increase in violence against your deputies? And if so, why do you think we are seeing that increase?
It's tough to say there is an increase. I will say having 3 and 4 days would definitely make one believe there's a significant increase. But I would have to really look at the statistical data to say if there was an increase or did it just come in a short period of time. But I will tell you this, I say we're in that perfect storm right now. You have the pandemic, you have the civil unrest, and you have zero bail early release. And then you have, because of the pandemic, some people who were provided some services regarding who are suffering from mental crisis, and because of COVID, they can't meet all the time. So there's a lot of things. I think it's a combination of everything going down. But I will tell you this, some of the civil unrest in things that are going on in our communities, I think as a law enforcement agency, we're very solution driven, but I think it's time that we just listen. What does a community need? Something I always tell our officers is that when the community's expectations change, we need to change. But we need to hear what that expectation is and how do we come together for the public safety profession and provide what is needed. But I think it's just a combination of things.
And in terms of, I feel like I'm even personally on edge for you guys. Like every time I get an alert or a text from the newsroom saying like, hey, we have a homicide in Sacramento County. Like I know that there was one this morning And like the first thing I thought of was, oh my God, was this another officer involved shooting? You know, like I'm thinking of your officers. So that being said, how are you and the department moving forward from this? You know, I know you mentioned we're going to continue to be there and show up, but you know, after these tragedies and these horrifying incidents, what is next, and how can you continue to move forward?
Well, and again, I say that's a great question, because we always ask, and I have friends who, and a lot of people have friends who are not in the profession, and the standard question I get is, how do you do it? And the reality is it's our calling, and that's what we do. And we'll take this time right now to reflect on him, and help pay tribute and celebrate his life with his family, Rachel, and his wife, Rachel, and the family. And what can we do moving forward to get stronger? We also look at these major incidents and how do we learn from them? You know, law enforcement has been around for years, and it's going to be around for years way after I'm hopefully retired and moved on. But it's how do we learn? How do we grow from this? How do we get stronger? But most importantly too is how do we connect with the community? And that's what we really need to do is if we can connect with the community and meet their needs, then we all lift up together. And that's ultimately what it is. And it's been great seeing the outpouring of support from the community. I know there's still people who really don't like our profession, but I will tell you, I think if anything, if we could ever sit down and come with the mindset of understanding that there is a need for law enforcement, and there's a need for us to be out there to protect the community, because if it's not, then it becomes lawlessness, and that can't be done. And I will tell you that right now, we're seeing it even more. You mentioned the homicide this morning. We had officers who are very aware of what's going on, shows up, and they try and provide life-saving measures, right? And so now that weighs on you. Right? And it's those types of calls as a human being that you constantly see as far as happening, whether it's from a major incident homicide, officer-involved shooting, a child death. Sometimes it's just domestic violence, and they're showing up and they're trying to provide some sort of resolve so that there's no conflict internally. There's a lot going on right now in communities, and we're here for them. And I will tell you that we'll always be there for them. And I think we take pride in providing that service. And my goal and our hope is that by the time I retire and others retire, is that our community is proud of us. And that's what we want. And we would love to be able to provide a mindset of, if something major happens somewhere in the United States regarding law enforcement community, that our community can look at us and say, that's not our law enforcement agency. Right? They can be really proud of what we do. And that's what we have work to do. And that's what we're committed to doing, is finding where can we bridge those gaps. And that's what we're doing.
And the last thing that I wanted to touch on was just asking if there had, I realize this has to be taking a toll on your deputies, especially the deputies, like you mentioned in the beginning, that went to they weren't just there for Friday's incident, but they were there at Fridays and Mondays. So when we talk about the mental health of your deputies, is there any other additional support being brought in, or what is being done to make sure that our deputies are in the right state of mind when they show up to the next incident?
I'm glad you asked that, because I think as an organization, we've done a phenomenal job bringing in peer support. Our Sacramento area law enforcement chaplaincy, who shows up at our briefings, they come in late at night. They do a great job. And when I first came on the job in law enforcement, when a chaplain or peer support showed up, it was that, what are you doing here? And now it's been embraced, and they're part of the family. And we constantly reach out and check in. And I will tell you, on Tuesday night's event, I was in the process of phone calling everybody that was involved in the first incident on Monday night. And then that call came in. And so I'm literally driving out to that scene, and people who I left messages with are calling me about it, and they hear me, they know I'm driving to get there. And they go, "You sound busy, I'll call you back." I said, "No, I'm going to check on you. How are you doing?" And they go, "We just heard of another one," right? And to now compound when they're sitting home with their loved ones, from Monday night's incident, and then to now go, here's Tuesday night's officer involved shooting. And now the family is having to interact with them. And just, it becomes, how do you explain that to your family member that that won't be me the next time I go to work? And that's what we're going through. But the team of resources from the association that's attached to us, they offer so many areas and levels of support for our officers. It's great. And I think we've gotten better as a profession to accepting that, embracing it. And it is important because if you look at the statistical data in law enforcement, when they retire, usually a lot of people don't get long retirements because of everything that they've seen and experienced throughout their life. It makes it tough. And I can say firsthand, when I worked homicide for almost 4 years, what you see, those are things that you cannot unsee. And so how do you deal with that when you don't just bury it and it becomes a problem? So we've done a great job. Again, the law enforcement chaplaincy, our peer support internal, everything from is supported by Sheriff Jones and executive staff. My boss, my chief checks in with me all the time. And so it's just great to have that support. And we're definitely getting better at accepting, providing it, but also accepting the help that is needed to get through it and then move on.
Are you bringing in any other additional support for the deputies?
There is additional support depending on need, right? As of right now, there's an evaluation. Obviously, when they go through a major incident, we check in on them. And if there are maybe additional resources that are needed, the department doesn't hesitate and get that provided for them.
Okay, I know we covered a lot of bases here and I kept you on much longer than I originally expected, but is there anything else that you want to add or anything else that you want us to make sure we include with this?
No, I just, I think it's important people watching this realize we are humans who provide this service. And at the end of the day, yes, we wear a uniform, but we go home to our families and you think about the different calls that they go through in a given day. And it could be something from just a mere argument, some property that was taken, or some violent crime. And again, imagine seeing that over a 10-hour shift, 4 days a week, 365 days a year or for a year, and then going home every night and having the family ask you, how was your day? And you have, kids around the table, loved ones around the table, and you try and how do you navigate that? And a lot of times people will, officers will not talk about that in itself can create some challenges. But, we are humans, and the best part I think is when we get back up and we show up to work, we're always going to be there in the community that needs us. And that's what I'd love to let the community know is we're going to be here for you no matter what. And we appreciate the support. And one final thing I would ask is anybody watching this is if they see a law enforcement professional, it's okay to wave and just wave at them and let them know they're going through some tough times in this region. And I think it's important that we all come together as a family and let us know that we'll get together. We'll get through this together.